And welcome to the Beat of Sports. Chris Vasquez is where he normally is in the control room of our studios in Orlando. I'm not in my normal spot. I'm still in Waco, Texas, as the Monday show gets going today. And Chris, what I say, I got to stop wearing white shirts because I look like a ghost. And what am I wearing this morning?
White on white, baby.
You know what? Last night, as I was packing, because we're leaving later today, I didn't even think about it. I'm like, I'll wear this, and everything. And I didn't even think about it until I just connected on the screen. And I'm like, guess he's wearing a white shirt with a white background behind me here. I'm in the radio booth at Baylor. And so if you're on the stream, I kind of look like a ghost today. Yeah. Anyway, I told Kelly why I'm still here. We changed our travel plans. We UCF did on Friday because of expected rain. And the Big 12 wants everybody to get the games in and work around the schedule. Neither team wanted to play a doubleheader Saturday because it was projected to be really hot, and it was 93, feel like 98. And the use of pitching. So it's like, hey, okay, we'll change our plan so that Sunday, if we start and stop and start, we can do that and stretch the day out. Okay, well, then the weather changed. It was gorgeous on Sunday. But our original flight was canceled last night in Dallas because of a band of storms that came through central Texas and came through Waco over to Dallas. And it was pretty strong. It wasn't, not dangerous, but it was pretty strong wind and rain. And it canceled a number of flights out of Dallas and this morning as well. So we're flying back this afternoon. Thanks to the operations people here at Baylor. They were very kind to unlock the gate. Chris, Saturday, John Morris, the play-by-play voice at Baylor, super nice guy. And I told him, hey, I'm probably going to be here Monday. And he had the ops guy come up to the radio booth before the game on Saturday. Super nice guy, Rowdy. And he's like, no problem, we'll take care of you. And then last night at like 9 o'clock, I'm thinking, should I remind him with a text? Like, I don't know. So this morning I get up, Uber, like 2.5 miles here. And Chris, the front gate is open. The lock is lifted. I walk inside. I sent him a text on the way here. I said, hey, is there a particular gate? He goes, front gate should be open for you. If not, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Front gate's open. The door to get to the elevator to come up is open. The elevator's working. The press box and the radio booth wide open.
Nice.
So didn't have to hop a fence. I'm legally in the building.
That's no fun.
And in front of me, here, I'll show you. If you're on the screen, I can show you this. Ready? Let me show you.
The view? What's the view?
Nice. So there's the baseball field. So there are people working out there because, and Baylor's done with home games. They're on the road this coming weekend. Thursday, there's a Willie Nelson concert here. So they're going to set that up for a Willie Nelson concert. Willie Nelson is 93 years old. 93 years old and still touring. And then Kelly looked up. He's here Thursday. He's in Clearwater Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
So there's 6,000, seats. And they sold out in like 3 hours for Willie Nelson, who attended Baylor for one semester. And as I said over the weekend, probably one side promotes that more than the other. I'm going to guess Willie doesn't, but apparently he hasn't. Apparently, in all the years, he hasn't been back in Waco since the semester he spent here, which is a long time ago. But anyway, had a nice time in Waco over the weekend. UCF won 2 of 3, 2 blowouts Friday, Saturday, lost 8-7 yesterday, but ate some great barbecue. I sent you the pictures and video of that.
Very good.
My wife came out here to shop at the Silos at Magnolia, the Chip and Joanna Gaines place, and got some wonderful things, which was nice. And then she went back Saturday and, went back Saturday night to take a couple of guys from the UCF staff over to Terry Black's barbecue. I did not get the meat sweats on Saturday after 8. I did get them on Thursday. Wow. Just too much. But anyway, that's why I'm here today.
Did you go to the Dr. Pepper?
Well, I sent you a picture, right?
Yeah.
Did I send you a picture of the commemorative bottle?
No, you did
I don't know
not.
if I sent you that. So Waco is the home of the it's funny, Chris and I were talking about it last week about Dr. Pepper's at a root beer. The Dr. Pepper Museum is in Waco, Texas. And they celebrated the 35th anniversary of the museum on Saturday morning. and was by there, and you had to pay $20 for the ticket to get in, and I wasn't going to do that for Chris. Like,
Wow.
get carried away. Well, there was a long line and everything, but they do have a 35-year commemorative bottle of Dr. Pepper that they were giving out to those that bought tickets to the event and everything. So there you go. I just sent you a picture of the commemorative bottle and everything. Chris is excited. He sent me the announcement that the Cowboys and Giants are the Sunday night football game.
Can we stop opening with the Giants? I'm so tired of playing the Giants.
I got to admit,
one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on this, and I don't know what the numbers are over the last 20 years, but it's got to be 10 times.
They played 8 times in the last 15 years.
8 and 15.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm like you. Like I'd rather play one mid-season and then one late in the year.
Yeah.
You know, like when we clinched the NFC East, I wanted to be against.
You remember the last time the Cowboys and Giants opened up the season, right? 3 years ago. That would be a 40-0 beatdown.
Oh. We don't look back. We look forward. We don't look back. We look forward. Yeah. So
Cowboys are 7-1, by the way, in those 8 games.
Anyway, had the Sixers too.
Yeah. So you got to change the topic.
I live in the present, not the past or future. I live in the present. You know, live in the present, man. So on our program today, next segment, Chris, I want you to hear me out next segment. Okay. The Magic are still looking for a coach. The off season's going to be fascinating, or maybe it won't. And I'm going to tell you who I think the most important figure for the organization is, not just in the offseason, but in the years to come. And it's not who anybody's going to try to guess. I'm going to explain that, and I'm also going to play a clip that I find very interesting, and I'm going to take you down a little bit of a path that I do want to get to. Got a whole bunch of other things that we're going to get to in the show today. Got a little football stuff. There was a story in college sports last week that none of you paid attention to, and there was no reason to pay attention to. But it was so telling in so many ways. The media missed it, and it's going to be a bigger story in the coming months and years ahead. We're going to get to that a little bit later. Jason Siegel's going to join us. The big news last week about part of the 28 Olympics that will come through Orlando, and Jason's going to give us a behind-the-scenes look at how that went down. He was there every step of the way, and constant communication with the folks at the IOC, the U.S. Olympic Committee, NBC. So a little behind the scenes and how all that went down from Jason. We'll get his thoughts on that and some other things that we will tackle all coming up on the program. I am in Waco, Texas today. Be back in the studio tomorrow, but here today broadcasting the show. You can catch us on FM 96.9, AM 740, and also on the iHeart app. And, of course, you can catch the live stream by going to our YouTube page, 96 The Game Orlando. Click on the logo, the live button, and access on the YouTube channel for the show. And you can always play that video back later in the day as well. What I think's interesting about what happened for the Magic, the end of the season, and even the middle part of the season. And maybe I'm trying to connect dots that don't connect, but I think I am connecting dots. And I'll explain, but first, here's everybody's favorite segment.
It's almost like an unwritten rule that when you become a father, you become king of the bad dad jokes.
What is Forrest Gump's password? 1Forrest1.
Are you ready to laugh? We know at least one person is. Here's CB's dad joke of the day.
Oh, that's so great.
So I went 1 for 2 with Tuck last week. I got him to laugh on
Friday.
Oh,
you did?
Yeah, I think he enjoyed the joke on Friday.
Okay, that's a rare thing.
I'm saying. Let's see if I can start off the week strong here.
Okay.
What does an escalator say when it stops working?
I don't know, Chris. What does an escalator say when it stops working?
Nothing. It just stares. It stares.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I gotta admit that's not bad. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Hey, it's Johnny Magic from Johnny's house.
Look, we've got you covered with the hits and what's going on in the city beautiful.
And Mark, he's got everything you need to know in the sports world, with maybe a touch of sarcasm.
This is the Beat of Sports with Marc Daniels.
While the NBA playoffs continue, and we're down to 7 teams as the Knicks eliminated the Sixers. You got Cleveland and Detroit playing, and then the 4 on the west side of the Oklahoma City is going to be quick there. The Magic have an interesting offseason. And as we all digested the end of the year for the Magic, blowing the 3-1 lead to the Pistons, how the team got there, then the firing of Jamal Mosley the morning after the series ended, then Jeff Weltman's press conference, and now it's wait and see who the Magic will hire as a head coach, what offseason changes are going to be made to the roster. Will they be significant? Will the team look to move one of the core players? Or will they just bring back much of the core players and try to change the bench? So that's the offseason for the Magic. But what's interesting to me, and I teased this before, that I want to go down a path here a little bit. And Chris, I'm going to ask you to pop in here for a second. One of your favorite teams has a very high-profile owner that loves the spotlight. that frustrates you to the point sometimes where you think the attention matters more to him than the wins and losses, right? I mean, that's how you feel about Jerry Jones.
It does.
There are different types of owners.
Mm-hmm.
The extreme may be Jerry Jones. If you go back, you think of people like George Steinbrenner, hands-on. You can think of Mark Cuban sitting courtside.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other owners that are well-known. I don't think every team needs an owner that is as aggressive as Jerry Jones, is as big of a cheerleader, perhaps as Mark Cuban when he owned the Dallas Mavericks, and other owners that people know even if they're not one of your favorite teams. When it comes to the Orlando Magic, and I felt this for a number of years, and having been here from the summer before the Magic started, and knowing some people of the original ownership group, and Rich DeVos bought the Magic in 1991. No one would argue that the Magic have been great in giving back to the community. To the DeVos family, Rich before he passed, and his sons and family, they take great pride in their community involvement. Nobody argues that. I don't believe that a team has to have somebody that is a cheerleader, but I do think it's important to a fan base to believe that their ownership has some passion like a fan does. It can't be viewed as just part of a portfolio. It can't be viewed of out of sight, out of mind. It can't be viewed as, the family will pop in for a couple of games a year, we'll sit in those seats, and we're recognized. And I do think one of the things about the Magic ownership is they are out of sight, out of mind. People don't see them. People don't recognize Dick or Dan DeVos if they sit courtside. That's not why the Magic blew a 3-1 lead to the Detroit Pistons. But I do think they don't spend much time here. Whenever the family decides to sell the basketball team, and by the way, I don't think that's anytime soon, they're going to make a significant amount of money, billions. And they have no intent on selling the basketball team now. But they're non-existent as far as being around. Again, that wouldn't have changed the outcome of the collapse in Game 6 and what happened in Game number 7. But it sure would be nice if Magic fans felt that the ownership was a bit angry how things went. That, like, you know what? What else can we do? And that's not saying the team's been cheap. I mean, heck, they're facing aprons and taxes and all sorts of things like that. But they have been out of sight, out of mind. That might change. That might change. One of the things that's happened with the Orlando Magic from the ownership and management structure, and some liked when this happened, is when Alex Martins, however you want to spin it, was moved. Alex was a key part of the Magic's board that represented the owners. And quickly, 10 o'clock hour, WYGM Orlando, WJR HD2 Cocoa Beach. The Magic put Alex in the Team's Hall of Fame, and some applauded, hey, they're moving him out. And they did. I don't care how it's being spun. Alex is in kind of an advisory senior role for the Magic, but he's been moved out. And that was by design. It was by design because the name that you might want to pay attention to in the coming years for the Orlando Magic is Ryan DeVos. Ryan DeVos is Dick DeVos' son, 39 years old, who was with the Magic, then went to the NBA's office in New York to work a couple of years there, then comes back to the Magic. And as Alex was shifted to his senior advisor role, Ryan DeVos at 39 now takes on a greater role with the basketball team. And it ain't just community events to show up when we're giving money or a grant to somebody. And I think he's going to be a key figure to watch in the years to come, because I think the family would like him to have more hands-on involvement, even on the basketball side. And that's taken place in recent months. And as Alex on the day that the Magic put him in the Hall of Fame and talked about the shift and everything, Alex was kind of being pushed months before. Knew it was coming. Heck, Alex was there when Ryan DeVos came in and then went to the NBA office and came back. And whether you like or dislike Alex, he knew what was happening. Cole DeVos is 29 years old. That's Dan's son. He's part of the organization, but not in the basketball side of things as Ryan will be. And in the years to come, I'm going to guess you'll see him a lot more. And I'm going to guess he's going to be a little bit more visual at basketball games. And that's by design. But it's also interesting about what took place in the last several months as the basketball product was going through this season. And everybody knew that when you got to January and February, there was already the whispers about Jamal Mosley. Is he going to be let go? And that wasn't new to anybody. And Jamal Mosley wasn't let go and finished out the year, then was fired the next day. And people sit and wonder, what if the Magic had beaten the Pistons in Game 7? What would have happened? Would he have been fired if he didn't win the second round? I don't know if Jamal Mosley had any chance to survive unless the Magic won a championship. I think Jamal Mosley's fate was determined months ago. I do. From the gathering information, I think his fate was determined months ago. But now I want to play a clip for you. When the Magic season ended and Jamal Mosley's fired a week ago, and then Jeff Weltman holds a press conference, Jeff Weltman spent about a half hour talking to the press. I've said this, and I'll say it again. I don't know Jeff Weltman. I don't have a relationship with Jeff Weltman, not that I need to. I know different than you as a fan that will sit and observe and try to draw conclusions or opinions. I don't think Jeff Weltman's a bad person. I think his intent to help the Magic is genuine. I think he's got a reputation around the league, and he's respected. But he's been here for a while. He's done the pivot a couple of times. They may do it again in the sense if they break this core up. But I asked the question as the season was winding down and the collapse at Boston, and even before that, I said, if you're going to make a decision about Jeff Weltman, about Jamal Mosley, who's making that decision? Guess I brought up, and that was the talk. Hey, Jeff Weltman's contract's up, supposedly. Is he going to be the guy that if you're firing Jamal Mosley, are you sure that Jeff Weltman's the right guy? Because he built this team. And if you think this team has peaked and it's not just Jamal Mosley, is somebody else then going to be brought in to run the team and then pick the coach and decide if changes need to be made? That apparently was decided months earlier, because we learned at the press conference after Josh Robbins had reported on The Athletic the morning, and Josh was on this show and put in his story about the Magic that, oh, yeah, Jeff Weltman had a contract extension during the NBA Cup, which was in December. Before all the noise in January and February about Jamal Mosley and is he going to survive the season. Here was a small clip from that press conference where he's asked about his status and did he deserve a chance to continue and why he got a contract extension. Here's the clip from that press conference.
From that perspective, this was your 9th year in this position.
Yeah.
It was reported that you signed an extension, another extension. Why do you feel like you earned that extension to continue and hire next coach?
Well, that's not for me to say. I mean, I'm just, very thankful for the DeVos family that, that they've believed in the direction of the team and that they see that they're excited about where we're going and that they believed in myself and my staff to continue forward.
There was also reported that the extension was finalized in mid-December. Why wasn't that announced or shared or made public soon?
Yeah, that's probably my fault. You guys know I'm pretty close to the vest on that stuff. So if I had that to do over again, I probably would.
Really? Huh. Couple things. Jeff Weltman makes himself available really a few times a year. He has gone on Brandon Kravitz's show, and obviously Brandon part of the Magic broadcast team for, I think, a few times throughout the year with Mike, and now with Mike on in the afternoon. Jeff Weltman doesn't do many press conferences, doesn't really make himself available to the media that often. And as far as I understand, he's not required to with the Magic. They allow him to kind of stay low and not do many press conferences. I'm pretty sure it's part of his deal. The question about why he deserves to stay, not a bad question, and his answer really isn't a bad one. Hey, not my decision. They chose to keep me. The question about the deal being signed in December and his answer, and Chris, can you go back and cue that part up again? I want to play that clip again, and you can put the question part into it. To me, it's really interesting. Now, as you get a week removed of this and go back and look at some stuff, let me know when you got that clip. About the contract being signed again. And said, yeah, I probably could handle it differently. Here's the question for you. Why the organization let it go that way? Here's the clip again.
There's also reported that the extension was finalized in mid-December. Why wasn't that announced or shared or made public soon?
Yeah, that's probably my fault. You guys know I'm pretty close to the vest on that stuff. So if I had that to do over again, I probably would.
Yeah, here's a couple questions for you. If Josh didn't report that, would they have told you? Well, I mean, would the Magic have let Jeff Weltman on Monday, after firing Jamal Mosley, say, and by the way, I got a contract extension, and would he have told you when he signed it? Why didn't the team announce that in December? Heck, the team had a little bit of a run in the NBA Cup. Vibe was kind of good. Why not announce it? Why not say back in December, hey, we chose to keep things on our management side in place as we build this thing, and we don't want any uncertainty with our guy, so we're announcing that we're signing him to a contract. Why? Why not announce it? He didn't do it in January or February or March or April. Why not? Why? The Magic have done it every time before. Every time before. I mean, even with players. I mean, there's not we sign him to, 5 years and $250 million, but it's, terms not disclosed until the agent calls Shams and then it gets disclosed. But why not announce it? Listen, again, there's some dots that connect and some dots that don't. My theory is this. I think the Magic made a decision months earlier about Jamal Mosley, and I think there may have been some internal discussions about if and when, and there may have been some people that said, I don't want to pull the trigger. There may have been some people that said, hey, the injuries are a big part of it. Let's see how it plays itself out. I also think Jeff Weltman, and I'm not saying I would have done the same thing, you protect yourself first. And maybe Jeff Weltman said, look, I need some assurance here. If we're going to make a coaching change and I'll get behind it, I need some assurance. Maybe that was the deal. Hey, take care of me, and then I'll get behind what maybe everybody wants to do. And then whether it was whoever of ownership, whoever, to come back and say, well, let's not fire him. I don't know. I mean, watch again how some figures in that organization become a little bit more recognized and at basketball games and things like that. I think Jeff Weltman made a decision. How do I protect myself? I'm not telling you that that's a bad thing. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? But they didn't just decide during the NBA Cup, hey, let's do this. I think he wanted the deal. And again, I don't blame him. You don't want to go into an offseason not knowing about your future, but they made a decision. And maybe he chose the side that said, look, if that means that Jamal's going to go, let me make sure that I'm on the side that I don't go with him. And let me convince whoever I need to convince, and maybe it's a young, growing voice in the organization, I'm with you. I'm with you. It still is odd that went down. And he got himself the extension, and he got himself the power to stay and clearly to pick the next head coach and clearly to decide what the roster does in this offseason. But for someone that doesn't have to talk that much to the media, with an ownership that doesn't really have much of a presence, I guess it was somewhat easy to do. And there's no NBA guideline that says, hey, if you sign your president or GM, whatever title, to an extension, you're required to report it publicly. No, but I still find it really odd. And I do think that there was a lot of talk about making a coaching change during January and February. And ultimately, it may have been one voice that said no. It may have been a few voices that said no, but clearly somebody else said, I'm going to make sure that I get my deal done. And maybe in the end, Jeff Weltman was able to convince to say, no, I don't want to make a change. But his deal got done. And he'll be the guy that makes decisions in this offseason about the Magic. And there are some that'll wonder, too. Okay, fine. The Magic made a change with Jamal Mosley. Did they make the right decision in keeping someone and signing him to an extension now to hire the next coach and to make those changes? We will find out in the next coming weeks and months and then next year, because they ain't playing any basketball games until next season. It adds to the intrigue of an interesting offseason for the Magic. And watch. We'll see if ownership has a face that's going to be around a little bit more and vocal. The ownership name doesn't change. And I still think Alex Martins is actually the governor representative for the Magic. But I do think you'll see more of a presence of Ryan DeVos. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but selling at 39, he's been groomed for growth on the basketball side of things. And for Jeff Weltman, it is interesting what they did back in December and his answer, which kind of got, I'm not saying lost, but in the mix of everything else that we were listening to on Monday, probably could have handled that better. Yeah, so could the organization, who I believe owes it to its fan base. This whole thing about stewards of the community, it's great when we're giving grants and making donations and opening up buildings and doing all things like that. That's great. But I still believe when someone is an owner of a sports team, okay, remember, pro sports leagues don't announce ownerships when they grant teams. Cities are awarded teams, and an ownership is chosen. They don't say, the Vasquez family just got a team. Now we'll see where he places the team. Cities get teams. Owners have an obligation to their fans that I think is to put a competitive product on the field, to ask then fans to pay a lot of money. It's your job to try and win. And I do think it's also your job to communicate to your fan base, good or bad. And I also think it's your job to have a presence so that your fans know that you have a passion like they do. Some's hardcore and extreme and all sorts of stuff, but I think your fan base needs to know that you care, that you're not an asset in a portfolio. And caring sometimes means being there. You know, It's okay to say, hey, that was a tough year. That didn't end well. That's not good. That's not what we want to be. We've got to be better. Even simple words like that help a fan base go, okay, yeah. It's good to know that you're angry. We come back, a couple things that I want to touch on that I'm not quite sure is going to get any better. And another awkward nugget about the Magic that I think is true. Chris, we'll get to that when the Beat of Sports continues next.
Hey, what's up? This is Pat Lynch.
And I'm Taco Bob. You're not rocking out with WJRR.
Lock it in here with Marc Daniels and the beat of sports.
This Monday, I'm still in Waco, Texas for travel adjustments. We're flying back today from a baseball series out here back in studio tomorrow. Before I get to the other things I want to talk about, Chris, you want to follow up anything on what I said on the Magic? You agree? Listen, the stuff about Jeff Weltman and the contract extension, people can speculate all they want, but don't you want an owner that you believe at least has some sort of care like you, and you'd like to know that, right? Don't you want that?
Yeah, you want an owner who cares about winning and who cares about putting the best possible product on the floor.
Right, and it doesn't mean that you have to be there 82 games, and it doesn't mean that Dan and Dick DeVos don't check to see if the Magic won. I just think you've got to have a little bit more presence, and the family's always been up in Michigan, and Grand Rapids, and the Amway home there and everything. I just think out of sight, out of mind doesn't work today. And I just think you've got to show your fan base a little bit. Now, the other stuff, again, if Josh Robbins doesn't put in the contract extension, do you think anybody knows about it?
No, but I don't know how that question gets answered, I guess. I don't know how Jeff Weltman kind of answers that without there being like 100 more questions following it.
Yeah, which is why they did it the way they did. By the way, did you see? And I don't know. I guess this is true. Did Shaq sell his Magic Hall of Fame plaque? Have you seen this story?
No.
Yeah. So somebody posted what appears to be an online auction of what was Shaq's 2015 Orlando Magic Hall of Fame trophy or plaque. Okay, and it was from a collectibles company, and then it's sold for $5,999.99. And if it's true,
where are you seeing this from?
Here, I'm going to send it to you. And then a few people picked up on it, and again, if it's true, then it is like Shaq. Really?
So if it's from CBS Sports, I just did a quick Google search, and of course we got AI now. There's no public evidence that Shaq sold his actual basketball Hall of Fame.
No. I just sent you.
Yeah, the Magic.
Yeah. People posted the clip, and again, I careful to what I fall for. So I just sent you that. The other thing I was going to get to, I brought this up briefly with Tuck on Friday. We were talking about it, and Chris, when I say integrity of the game, people tend to think, oh, we're talking about fixing games and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I guess I got to control myself on this. Watching the NBA playoffs when we have fewer games and they're magnified, we've talked about this. Of how players and the flopping and the complaining and I said to Tuck on Friday, I said it before, I'll say it again. Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson are among the biggest babies with this of the flopping and shock that a foul's called on them and not getting a call, and SGA and LeBron, everybody. And right now we're in this period. And why I say integrity of the game is I'm not even quite sure the players understand what it looks like from the outside watching them. Okay? And what I mean by that is in baseball, I'm convinced in the next, not 5 years, I think in the next 2 to 3 years, ABS is permanent, meaning it will call every pitch. I'm convinced of that in the next 2 to 3 years, it won't be just a challenge system. They will perfect the technology, and it'll be used in every pitch. An umpire will be told ball strike, and I think ABS is coming. So this stuff about players and reacting all the time, and we're challenging, we're tapping heads and all that stuff, that's going to become the norm. The other sports, though, I don't know how you fix this. I don't know what the NBA does when it comes to all the players and the screaming and the flopping and the complaining. It's out of control. Chris, you and I talked about during football season. Every single pass downfield, everybody on the offensive team sideline puts their hand up in the air like throw the flag. It's out of control. I don't know how we fix that. It's not as bad in hockey. I got to be honest. I think hockey's it's not as bad. It's hard to get away flopping in hockey. Some guys do it, but it's not as bad as basketball, and in football and in baseball. Clearly in soccer, you've had flopping going on for decades, and that's not going to stop. I don't even know if these guys understand what it looks like on the outside. You know, like again, I was watching. I was broadcasting for most of the Knick game yesterday, and the game got out of hand so much. But even last night, I'm watching San Antonio and Minnesota. And yes, it's to an extreme. Like Wemby didn't realize what he did. Like he's like, what? What do you mean? Like, dude, you wound up an elbow, and hit a guy in the throat. But even then, and I love watching Ant play, but it's just on a drive, everything. How could I? What do you mean no foul is called? I don't know how we fix it, and I just don't know if these guys realize what they're doing. So when I say integrity of the game, it's like you're not helping. When every single play, you're stunned that a foul was called on you, or you can't believe a foul wasn't called on you.
It's gotten so bad, and I've talked to Tuck, I've talked to you about the amount of foul calls, and it was the other day, I think it was the Sixers and Knicks in the first half. They combined for like 42 free throws. We're spending half the game at the free throw line, and then the other half complaining that we didn't get a foul call. And the people who are flopping are the first ones to complain about trying to get the foul call on the other side.
Absolutely. And I'm a broken record. I don't know how to fix it. I don't. And the same thing goes with pass interference. Like Kelly and I played the clip on the bridge, and you sent it to me when Brock Ewart's interviewing the UFL ref on the sideline. I don't want that in the NFL.
No, God, no.
We'll never do that. But I don't know how we fix that. Like I want to throw a flag on a sideline that just goes, come on, throw the flag, and they throw the hands up in the air. Like, stop it. Stop it. Every single play cannot be pass interference, offense, defensively. Every pitch can't be ball strike, and the body language, everything, and particularly in the NBA, and just the way the NBA game is played and the camera zooming in. It's just, that's what I mean by integrity of the game. I don't think games are rigged and things like that, but integrity is look at what you're doing. Look at your actions. And if you sit players down and say, tell me how you want to fix it, what do you think the answer is?
Well,
from them. Forget dopes like you and I. Like if I asked whoever you want to put in this, you want Brunson, you want SGA, you want Cat, you want Embiid, tell me what you think the solution is. And if you begin with, we'll get better refs, then you're insane.
No, it's not.
These are the best refs.
From a player standpoint, I don't know what the solution is. I can say that from a fan standpoint, it seems like the players, all they care about is trying to draw the foul instead of trying to score. And I think the strategy needs to be altered. Stop trying to draw the foul. Just try and score.
But Chris, that's not going to change if he's getting the call. I mean, if you're SGA and you're going to average 12 to 14 free throws a game, then why would you change that? I admit, I don't know how to fix it. I just, and we do it all the time. And again, the fewer the amount of games, the more coverage it gets. We make a bigger deal about it. But I just think I'd love to sit down and ask these guys, watch the game, and they'd be like, well, that should have been a foul. That wasn't a foul. Like, no, look at yourself. Like, just look at you and everything. Again, I was watching a couple of Major League Baseball games of the night, and every batter, it's like, we're out of challenges. Like, what are you doing? Again, Major League umpire this season, Major League umpires are averaging 96.7% correct calls on balls and strikes. You know how good that is? You know how good that is with the movement that we have in baseball today? You know how good that is? And these guys act like they're getting 50-50. Like, come on. It's crazy. All right, we come back. There's a story that went under the radar that I think the few in the media that covered it got it wrong in college sports. And in a way, this sport, although not college football or basketball, it's tied to it. And I'll connect those dots, and we'll do that next. There was a story last week that probably none of you paid attention to, not that you needed to pay attention to, but it's part of a bigger thing that is happening. The two biggest stories and the two biggest sports in college is in college football. The momentum now to go to a 2014 playoff is growing. The American Football Coaches Association, which doesn't have any power to change the college football playoff. It's just it's basically a big conference room, a big ballroom in a fancy hotel for coaches to gather with, fancy coffee and snacks and box lunches and all that stuff. And they make recommendations, but they have no authority to change the rules. But what's happened now is in college football, I'm going to work my way back to this, but in college football, Tony Bettini and the Big Ten, they're the ones that have pushed for the 2014 playoff. And the reason why they push for it is, one, more money. Two, their media partner, Fox, one of their media partners, wants in. And right now, ESPN has exclusive rights to the college football playoff games. They license, meaning they give games to, and I don't want to confuse this, Paramount, but Turner, to put on TNT, who pays a fee, and that's how those games appeared there. Well, the Big Ten wants 24 teams because it's more teams that get in, it's more money, and Fox will pay and all that stuff. Then in college football, college basketball, what was the big story? We're expanding the NCAA tournament. We're, going to have more access now, and the biggest pile of crap that was thrown at you. But I'll get back to that in a second because it's part of the bigger picture that I often talk about. So the story that you didn't pay attention to last week spoke volumes about what every college athletic department is facing right now. And the media missed it. They missed it on so many levels. And I'm not here to say I'm smarter than everybody else. I'm just showing you, though, this is what's happening and what is going to happen. And by the way, if you have a son or daughter that you right now are paying for some travel ball team, whatever sport it is, and we've done so many stories in that you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars, and either A, you're doing it as a form of kid babysitting in the weekends, or you have this vision of your son or daughter playing at an elite level, professionally or in college. Well, if they're not playing football or basketball, and maybe to a degree baseball, then you better get set for what is happening that happened at Arkansas. Hunter Yurchuk, the AD at Arkansas, put out a release. And that release recently said that Arkansas was cutting its men's and women's tennis program, eliminating it. And the first natural response from everybody was, oh my God, there goes the impact of this crazy pay-for-play world in football and basketball. Here it comes, and there'll be an avalanche of all these non-revenue, or what we call Olympic sports. They're going to be canceled all over the place. And we've had a few examples of that. But in the SEC, it was a big story. Arkansas cut tennis. Hunter Yurchuk, bad guy. And then something happened. And here's what happened. After the initial announcement by Arkansas that they were getting rid of its tennis programs, and by the way, before I tell you then what happened, we need some data. And the data tells you the following about Arkansas tennis. Arkansas tennis last year, the women had total expenses of $1.1 million in the tennis program. That's expenses. The men's tennis expenses was $1.25 million. Okay? So you're talking about $2.3 million going towards the tennis programs at Arkansas. The revenue last year for women's tennis was $82. That's not $82,000. That's $82. $82 was the revenue. For the men's program, they made $3,202. $3,202. So combined, they lost basically $2.3 million. So the thought is, well, wait a minute now. You're just taking money you're paying to have a left guard play football, or John Calipari needs another power forward. You're going to pay him $2.3 million. It's an outrage. And then something happened. And here's what happened. There was a response of angry people in Arkansas. Was it fans that are hoping for a better football season? No, that wasn't the case at all. It ended up being a reaction of fans that said, this is not acceptable. We must step forward and save the tennis program. So people that either A, played tennis at Arkansas 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, or other business people in the area that like the sport of tennis stepped forward and committed $5 million to save the tennis program in Arkansas. And you're like, see, Hunter Yurchuk, you made a mistake. The idiot Arkansas is not on the ball because look at the response. Look at the support. And all Hunter Yurchuk probably did in his office is put his feet up on his desk and smiled and laughed. Because what the media missed and everybody else missed is he just proved his point. His point was, I don't want to drop tennis. When I do that, I'm going to get some heat. It'll eventually go away, the heat, but I don't want to do it. So here's what Hunter Yurchuk probably did. For months and months and months, internally, he told people, we're probably going to have to cut this sport. You can't do that. You can't do that. Well, if you do that, you're going to anger these people. And he probably said, then they should pay for it. And guess what happened? Hundreds of people pledged money, including some wealthy people who said, here's $5 million. That should cover the tennis program for 2 years. And Hunter Yurchuk, who, by the way, will meet today with representatives of this group to talk about their plan. And he'll gladly listen to them. And he'll gladly be laughed at by some in the media going, see, he was embarrassed. And he'll probably smile tonight when he lays his head in his bed and goes, well, that takes care of tennis now. Because you know who's going to have to fund the tennis program for the next X number of years? The same people that just stepped forward to fund it now. You know who doesn't have to fund it? Hunter Yurchuk. And that, my friends, is what is about to happen in most of these sports. If you want a team that doesn't make money in college athletics to survive, guess who's going to pay for it? The people that want that team to survive. Listen, you might not like the system that takes $2.3 million to pay a starting left tackle in the SEC, or to give John Calipari another guard because he needs to compete to get deeper into the NCAA tournament. That system is flawed and will still take years before it fully develops. But what happened at Arkansas tennis is about to happen everywhere. When Bubba Cunningham gave an interview, the soon-to-be former AD at North Carolina, he's retiring, forced out by the Board of Trustees there. He explained this. He said, pay for play works two ways. It works that we pay football and basketball players in the sports that make money to come play. The other part of it is pay for play means you want to come and play women's field hockey, you're going to pay for it. Because the football program, which you think, well, they make all that money, as I've said for 30 years doing this show, you could not pass a basic economics class with the model of college athletics. It says, I'm going to have 18 teams play, and one is going to make money. And the other 17 are going to rely on that one team for all the money that they make. And you know what? That's just the way it is. It would be hard to sit and have a conversation with a men's or women's tennis player at Arkansas and say, here are the numbers. This is what we spend on the program. This is what we make on the program. It's not about your effort, not about your desire to win. It's not about your unwillingness or willingness to represent us. It's just numbers. So how do you recommend we pay for it? How do you recommend we pay for it? And if the answer is, well, I don't know, that's not an answer. Or two, well, football pays for everything. Well, that football expense things change now because we pay players. That's going to happen. That's going to happen across college sports. So if your son or daughter doesn't play football or basketball, and maybe in some places in the SEC about baseball, and you think all the money you want to keep spending on travel ball is going to lead to a great scholarship opportunity and pay for play or NIL, you're in for a rude awakening in the next several years. Because what happened in Arkansas with their tennis program is about to happen all over the place. Because, again, they cover the story wrong. Hunter Yurchuk had to go public to prove his point. His point was those that want to support and get no return, because you can pour that $5 million in Arkansas tennis, they're not going to generate $5 million in revenue in the next 2 years. It's not possible. One story I read in a newspaper in Arkansas said, when they get 150 people, it sounds like a Davis Cup match. No, it doesn't. And you have to charge a lot of money if 150 people are attending an Arkansas tennis match to generate the money to cover the cost of the program. It'll never pay for itself. The model doesn't work. So those that want to support Arkansas tennis or whatever school you want to fill in the blank, they're going to be asked to support. And the people that bravely stepped forward the last a few days last week and said, I'll give money, how long you want to do that? Because that's what's happening in football and basketball right now, to kind of bring it back to those two sports, which is why we're having what we're having when it comes to expanding the NCAA tournament. One of the biggest jokes last week in PR was when the NCAA put out there, hey, here's what the new bracket's going to look like with 76 teams and all these playing games. That's really cool. And then they gave you copy points to tell you why it's such a great idea. One of it was, which was hilarious, was we're now getting closer towards balancing the number of teams that play Division I basketball that make the NCAA tournament was 18%. Well, in all their sports, there's a greater number of teams that make the postseason. So now it's 21% because we expanded the tournament. That's not why they expanded the tournament. It's not about access. Believe me, it's not about access. Schools in most small conferences are not getting better access because the NCAA tournament is expanding. They're not. It was about one thing only. It was about generating money. That's all it was. It was about going back to your media partners to say, for these additional games, how much will you pay? And it helps coaches because now a coach can go 17 and 16 and keep their job because they can say they made the NCAA tournament. And by the way, the expansion probably helps schools like UCF. But there is no reason for it. Nobody was screaming for it. No one. No one was screaming to say, give me 64. Give me 76. No one. Just like in college football. You remember when we were thinking, hey, in a 14 playoff that might go to 6 or go to 8, then to 12 and 16, it's going to make these non-conference games even bigger and better because the committee's going to say, we're going to put a greater emphasis on non-conference games. And what do we have? Florida State and Georgia eliminating a home and home. Why? Because, well, the conference is expanding to 9 games and it doesn't work scheduling-wise. We are losing those non-conference games. They're getting canceled left and right. And the excuse is, well, I got to play non-conference games, and then I got to have home games, and I need wins. We're losing those games. And with a 2014 playoff, do you understand what the Iron Bowl becomes? And I'm just using that as a big rivalry. The days of the Iron Bowl where one team had to win because to stay undefeated to make whatever we had a 2 or 14 playoff is irrelevant now. Can you imagine if you go to that day when the Iron Bowl's played, and you've got a 10-1 team against a 9-2 team? I'm not telling you wouldn't love the rivalry because of the sports hatred, but the game would mean nothing. Nothing. Why? Because both teams are going to make the playoff. Nobody asked for a 2014. Nobody did. The only people that wanted a 2014 playoff were who? Who? Conference commissioners and ADs who see it as a chance to generate more revenue and to get more teams into the playoff. We have done something to the sport that had the greatest regular season in all of sports. As the NBA playoffs continue, heck, we know this in the city of Orlando, man. You play 82 games, it's a grind, and there's really about 25 games at the most you look forward to. The rest, it's just who's on the schedule. Baseball, 162. I mean, come on. In the NFL and in college football, because of the rivalries and the pomp and circumstance and tradition, all sorts of stuff, it used to matter. We've taken the sport that said, if you want to really be sure you're going to make the playoffs, don't lose. That put pressure on you in September on the road when you're down by 6 with 2 to go. It meant that rivalry game in late October was more than just a rivalry game. Now, it doesn't matter. We've made so many games irrelevant in the regular season in college football, and they've ruined what's been the best sport regular season that we have. That's mismanagement. It's mismanagement by leaders obsessed by the need to just generate money because this is an evolving economy that will at some point figure its way out, but it's in its infancy. And like most economies that just start out, it is rocky, it is hard. I mean, the reason why banks got robbed in the old Wild West is because it was still an evolving market, man. It took a while before we figured out security and how to make banks work. And if you ever want to do a great history lesson, go look at it. It took like 50 years for the banking industry to really figure it out. We're in an infancy stage here, but man, it's moving fast. So whether it's canceling a tennis program in Arkansas to prove a point that the people that care about it should pay for it, or the insanity of conference leaders that have taken something so precious and said, well, we just got to make the money, so I don't really care what happens. And that rivalry game in October, who cares? We'll probably cancel it anyway. College sports in 2026, man. Back or more to Beat of Sports next.
Let's really do the news.
Yes.
Now it is time to do the news.
But now it's time for the news.
11 o'clock hour, WYJ Orlando, WJR, HC2 Cocoa Beach. This Monday, I'm still in Waco. Head back later today for baseball weekend out here. Rough weather. We had to change our flight. Chris is back in studios. Bit of breaking news this morning. Missouri Tiger running back Ahmad Hardy, who was a first-team All-SEC player, was shot at a concert in Mississippi early Sunday morning. Stable condition following surgery. Reports say Hardy is alert and moving around. They expect him to play football for the upcoming season, but the immediate return to football activities may take a while. So kind of a scary situation there. But he remains in stable condition and expects to recover. Wow. NBA playoffs yesterday. The Knicks finished off the Sixers in 4 games. The Knicks had 18 three-pointers in the first half and blow out the Sixers by a score of 144 to 114, 25 total threes in the game. The Knicks' average margin of win in their playoffs is 19 points, which I think is pretty good. Minnesota beat San Antonio 114-109. Victor Wembanyama plays 12 minutes, is ejected for the elbow. Chris, I'm sure you've seen it, not live, you've seen the highlight, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to get suspended for Game 5 because it's the playoffs. If it was December 14th, I think he gets suspended for a game. I guess the buzz is he'll get a fine, but he won't be suspended. Your thoughts?
Looking at it, if it's just an elbow, then I'm okay with the fine. But I mean, he wound up and he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I know he's never been in trouble before, at least in the NBA.
Yeah.
But I mean,
matter, sure.
It was a legit wind up, and he did not hold back. You know what? I think there should be a suspension. I think there should be.
I'll predict a fine issued today by the NBA. Tonight, the Pistons play the Cavaliers. It's Game 4 of that series. By the way, if that goes Game 7, the Knicks will get a week and a half off before the Eastern Conference Finals will get underway. And tonight, Oklahoma City will try to close out the Lakers up 3-0 in that series. Hey, Chris, you know what?
What?
SGA doesn't want that New York smoke. He just doesn't want that stuff.
God, we're gonna have an all-time epic flopathon, aren't we? If that happens,
that weak sauce, man. Give me a break. The Wizards won the NBA lottery yesterday and will have the first pick of the draft. Many think they'll take AJ DeMonster, the talented player from BYU. Utah, I mean, I think they'll make every effort to ask Washington, what can we do to swap spots? Because, you know, DeMonster played at BYU, and then the owner of the Jazz and the Mammoth basically created the school that he went to play basketball in Utah before BYU. Darren Peterson may end up being the second pick of the draft for the Jazz. By the way, all this stuff about the Magic and what they did with the draft picks, the Magic's pick would have been 16th, which, of course, they don't have, but it would have been 16th pick in this draft. By the way, Joel Embiid, after the loss to the Knicks, said that, you know, he loves Philadelphia, hopes he can continue to play there. If I'm a bad person, tell me, Chris. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
You ready? I love kids. I've got 2 daughters that I love with all my life. I don't need kids in post-game press conferences. I don't. I don't mind, you know, hugs the kid on the court and everything, but you don't need your kid with you up there on the podium.
I think that's to deflect any criticism.
Hey, kid, your dad's broken down.
I mean, I legit think it's to deflect criticism. I mean, we've seen Nick Sirianni do it after, you know, tough losses. And it's like, are you really going to kind of attack the dad in front of their kid? I mean, hey. I think some people still have morals.
Hey, you can't take the heat. Stop playing pickleball in the kitchen. Or whatever that's supposed to mean.
But
you know what I'm saying?
Isn't that what it is, though? Doesn't it seem like he's just deflecting?
Yeah, no. Not,
you don't use your kid, man up.
First off, I think there's a level of respect. I don't think anybody would try to embarrass him. I think it'd be a fair question to go, look, you know, do you see yourself playing a couple of more years? You battled all of these injuries. No one questions your talent. I don't think you're.
Well, $120 million over the next 2 years. Of course, he's still going to play.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we have here for you? Carolina Hurricane, by the way, did sweep their series. Chris is fired up to say it. By the way, Steve Kerr cut a 2-year deal. People thought that means the NBA is going to rig the lottery for the Warriors. That didn't happen. Kerr was making $17.5 million a year. A lot of money.
Yeah.
And let's see, what else do we have here for you? UFL, the Orlando Storm won at Houston, 5-2, headed towards the playoffs, you would think. They won last night. John Rice Plumlee played for Houston. They signed him last week, and they used him in a couple of spot situations, and he had a touchdown pass in the game last night. Good for JRP.
Yeah.
Liked him. Tough situation with injuries and stuff like that, but glad he's still getting a chance to play some football.
Weren't the Steelers trying him out at receiver?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. No, he was willing to go and play anywhere and play any position and stuff like that. So, all right. Jason Siegel of the Great Orlando Sports Commission set to join us next. We always catch up with Jason. I know the news came out last Thursday about Orlando being part of the 28 Olympics with a series of events going to select cities. Jason takes us behind the scenes as to what happened, discussions with the International Olympic Committee, even NBC, and how he pulled it off and why it's so big. We'll get to Jason on that and some other things next.
Never fear. Marc Daniels is here. Welcome back to the Beat of Sports.
Well, the news coming out last week that Orlando is going to be part of the road to the 28 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. And it's really neat, the whole process. Pretty challenging. Jason Siegel's our good friend and CEO of the Great Orlando Sports Commission, and he's out here to chat. Or I'm still out here in Waco. He's in Orlando. First, good morning. How are you? I'm in Waco still. How you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm doing great. Happy Monday.
It is a happy Monday, and I'll get back sometime today. Can you do this? Because, again, people learned about this. First, a little bit back on what is the Olympic Q Series?
So we're going to have anywhere from 4 to 5 sport sets of athletes coming to Orlando. And in the case of these particular sports, rather than have their own national qualifiers to make the Olympics, they all come together. So 150 different countries will send representatives to Orlando to qualify in each of the disciplines within each of those different sports. So it's a step up from the U.S. Olympic qualifier because this is an International Olympic Committee project, but also in partnership with the USOPC, the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee. So we're under the umbrella of the LA 28 games during the summer of 28.
When will you learn what events come to Orlando?
I'm guessing probably somewhere over the next 60 to 90 days, we'll get it all squared away. We have to work with, of course, the International Olympic Committee, but also the international federations of each of those sports, along with the U.S. Governing bodies of each of those sports. So there's a little bit more work to do, but super excited about the possibilities.
Can you share the process? You were kind of telling me a little bit about this is not like, hey, we got a call. Hey, you want to have some of these events. So what went into this? And it's Orlando, it's Tokyo, it's Shanghai, it's Montreal. Was there an effort to say we want one U.S. city? Could it have been multiple cities? Can you share a little bit behind the curtain what this process was like?
Yeah, I mean, there absolutely could have been other U.S. cities. I think that we were very quiet in our pursuit. There are often times where we're very vocal about going after certain projects. This was not one of them because we wanted to keep our pitch very close to the vest. Truthfully, the process, from a macro standpoint, started 8 years ago. I met with at the time she had just started, the CEO of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, Sarah Herschel, and I met with her in Colorado Springs in 2018 and started to have a conversation about how does Orlando, fight their way into the mix to host the Olympic qualifiers, U.S. Olympic qualifiers. That led to us being able to secure the marathon, which we did in 2024. And because of that success, we were invited to Paris during the Olympics, the Summer Olympics in Paris, where we had a great meeting with our now partners at the International Olympic Committee. We had a great meeting while we were there in Paris, and that process has taken a full 2 years. There were probably anywhere from 6 to a dozen cities in the mix, and it was just a great outcome. And this was a neat one because sometimes they don't tell you whether you've secured the opportunity or not. At least in this case, we got just about 24 hours notice. So we were able to go ahead with our plans to make the big announcement last Thursday. And of course, super excited that Orlando's an Olympic city.
This is a weak attempt at humor, but I'm somewhat serious. Can you share, what goes into that process? I'm sure there's a lot of great charts and graphics and videos and all sorts of stuff, but what else do you have to put in there to say, look, we really want this, that the IOC's looking for in a bid like that?
Yeah, a little bit of it is relationships. I think that over the years, the Sports Commission has hosted dozens and dozens of different Olympic qualifiers in many different sports, whether it was table tennis or fencing or taekwondo or canoe and kayak. So many different sports have come. and at a smaller level, participated and had, great experiences here in Orlando. So I think that, the first step was, can you demonstrate that you can provide positive outcomes? But the rest of it, Mark, was relationships and collaboration. To be able to have the influence of the leadership team at Universal, which of course NBC being the network and broadcast partner, was crucial to have both mayors, available and accessible and there for us when we needed them to help pitch. But I'll tell you, at the end of the day, a lot of credit to our elected officials, because when Orange County went ahead and said yes to the significant investments in Camping World, Kia Center, the Convention Center, and UCF, along with putting more dollars into incentivizing major marquee partners into bringing their big events to Orlando, that really pushed us over the edge. Had it not been for those investments, I'm not sure that we can be bidding on the dozen or so events that we're bidding on right now. This one, of course, included, but it also, we're going to spend $10 to $11 million as a community bringing the Jaguars into town. We're still negotiating with WWE on WrestleMania. We're talking to FIFA right now about Women's World Cup and Men's and Women's Rugby World Cups and another round of NCAA championships. I'm actually out in Howie in the Hills today. We have the D3 National Golf Championships out at Mission Resort. But if it weren't for those investments, Mark, into the venues and into our incentive funding and frankly, into our organization to make sure that we, had every competitive advantage, we don't have the opportunity to host. It's a lengthy process, and we've got a great team. This is what we do day in and day out.
You mentioned NBC, and I know that you spoke to their people, and they got the massive Olympic project, which I don't think people would be shocked. Like, they're plotting now, like they know when events are going to be. But what was that like? Because I would imagine anything that comes here, they will cover. Am I correct?
Well, yet to be, we're gonna have all that finalized hopefully in the next 90 days as well. So a little premature to go into exactly what NBC's plans are, but they were right by our side, as we were negotiating with our friends from the International Olympic Committee. So great to have great partners at the table, and that'll be a great announcement. We're able to share exactly what the format's going to look like for June 8th through 11th of 2028.
Jason, can you share, I think you see it firsthand as you travel the globe. Clearly, Orlando's always going to be known for its tourist destination, and rightfully so, and our theme parks. But on a business side and sports business side, the image of Orlando across the globe is what?
Well, it's emerging in a significant way. I mean, first and foremost, we're always in the mix when it comes to domestic opportunities. Sports Business Journal named us the #1 market for hosting sporting events. So it's not lost on our friends here domestically that are looking to do things in the United States. Case in point, the conversations we're having currently with the NBA about bringing the NBA All-Star Game here in 2030. But when you go worldwide, when you start to talk about a global presence, we've had our work to do, especially in the sports, when it comes to the sports category. These are global gateway cities, Mark. I mean, as Shanghai and Montreal and Tokyo to be, included, internationally with cities like those is great, prestigious. It's eye-opening. It gets a lot of attention amongst so many of the other event organizers. We're getting calls about a lot of significant opportunities for, over the next 10 years. So it's just a grind and a work that has to be put in, step by step, brick by brick, do the work. And while in the past, maybe, 90% of the calls were outgoing, we had to pitch and sell, and there was probably a time where it was 50-50 for every, sales call we made, we'd get a sales call back. Right now it's exciting because our phones are ringing off the hook with possibilities. Now the key is to pick great projects things that we think are meaningful, that drive economic impact, a good ROI, return on investment, that are great for the residents and citizens in our community, and of course things that can help us market the destination. It was really wild, and it was pretty neat to see the Olympic Committee broadcasting the news last Thursday in about 12 to 15 different languages. So that was pretty neat, and we'll keep building upon that as we look for future projects. But I think it's an emerging global capital. That's what Orlando, from a sports standpoint, there is no doubt about it. And it's because of great partnerships. I'd be remiss, if I didn't mention Visit Orlando has had a significant presence. Our friends at the airport have been involved. I mean, we bring 15 to 20 different groups to the table in this project for the Olympic qualifier. Our local arts, United Arts, Jennifer Evans, I mean, they're going to be our partners on this. Music, arts. It's a big sports festival, but there's a lot going on. It's pretty great to bring the whole community together, to help win these opportunities for Orlando.
I'm going to end with this. I'm going to kind of pivot, and I'm going to carefully craft this question. I'm not asking you to comment on the ongoing situation in Tampa as they try to figure out funding for a baseball stadium and everything else. But the biggest advantage that we still have with Orange County is the tourist development dollars. And it's a game changer as Tampa struggles to figure out how to come up with funding, and maybe they will. Can you share about that luxury that Orange County has, the role that it plays in your pursuit of events? And I know it's been another great year for that category again.
Yeah, and I think that a real credit to the hoteliers in our community. You talk about an organization like the Central Florida Hotel and Lodging Association, who represents so many different properties across the community. The great work that Disney and Universal and SeaWorld and Icon Park and so many other of our attraction partners who are driving visitation into this market. I mentioned the airport and all the great work that they're doing getting folks to and from Orlando. It takes a village. And the fact that you just saw Visit Orlando announce over 76.5 million visitors, when you multiply that by the average daily rate of a hotel room and the tax that's taxed on those rooms, the collection of bed tax, there's a significant portion of revenue coming into our market that is it's permissible to go ahead and do the things that we're doing to reinvest and continue to drive that visitation for the marketplace. So yes, it is certainly a great asset that our community has. We're very aggressive about the way that we go about reinvesting it, and couldn't be prouder of the community for the way that we've been aggressive in those pursuits as we go forward.
Jason Siegel, President CEO, Greater Orlando Sports Commission. Cool stuff with the Olympics and many other things going on. I know you're busy today. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Safe travels home.
Thank you, friend. Much more of the Beat of Sports. We come back next.
Angel from the Monsters in the Morning on Real Radio 104.1, and you're listening to the voice of UCF, Marc Daniels, and the Beat of Sports on FM 96.9 The Game. You want real sports talk? You got it right here.
So Jason Siegel on with us just before about all the Olympic stuff, which is really cool, coming to Orlando. It is interesting, and I'm admitting that I think I'm going to end up being not 100% wrong, but I think I'm going to be wrong by a little bit. And what I mean by that is we are less than 5 weeks to the World Cup. And it's the world's biggest sporting event. I mean, it's something that comes close to it. But what I'm going to be wrong about is I'm not quite sure this is going to go off and be as big of a hit in America as I thought it was. The idea of the World Cup coming back to the United States for the first time since 1994 was an absolute slam dunk. Wow, awesome. Now, yes, sharing hosting duties with Mexico and Canada, but the bulk of everything taking place in America, and the World Cup final taking place in America. Now, what nobody, I think, could have predicted, and here's Mark's official disclaimer, I don't care about your politics, is we have a climate that's a little bit challenging for some people. The image of our nation is maybe not as favorable as you would hope it would be for an event like this. But there are other things that come into play. And first and foremost, and I'll get to the economy side of the World Cup, as Forbes did kind of a deep dive into where things are at with ticket sales and hotel travel and all sorts of things. But when the U.S. was granted the World Cup, major host with the two other countries, when you host a World Cup, you don't have to qualify. And this is where I think the U.S. has lost some momentum in the sense of the following. In previous World Cups, and the U.S. has been choppy at best just in the qualifying process, there was that qualifying journey to play big matches, sometimes in weird, awkward places where the field or the pitch was worse than your neighbor's backyard. And there was a little bit of momentum that you could build. The other part of it was, and I am a big soccer fan. I mean, I enjoy my Tottenham Hotspurs of the Premier League, relegated or not. I want to see Orlando City do well. And I thought, let's go back 2-3 years, the momentum's going to build. The momentum's going to build because the World Cup is coming. MLS began to have its growth. Here came Messi, and it's all going to take off. Locally, we were hoping to get matches. We didn't get matches. But Orlando City, you thought was going to build some momentum. They've not built momentum. They're one of the worst teams in the MLS. And right now, there's no vibe at all. I mean, there's no vibe at all. And I don't blame a fan base. As I said all those years with the Magic, if you're not getting a product worth your hard-earned money, I'm not going to criticize you for going. It's one thing if they're third or fourth in the East, but they're not. So how can you yell at fans and go, why aren't you going? The product's great. The other thing is, I think MLS, and I said this and I was right about this, the Apple deal was a massive mistake. It was a massive mistake financially for them, but it was a massive mistake for exposure. It took matches that casual fans were going to just maybe go through the channel and I'll watch. Now that's gone. You had to work to find MLS matches. MLS recognized it. Apple recognized it. Now they gave up the paywall. Messi and Scott Harris and I talked about this before. Look, he's good for MLS. He's bad for MLS. He's good for MLS because the world's best player plays in MLS. He's bad for MLS is he never talks to the media. Their team is the most hated team in MLS. Yes, they won the MLS Cup last year, but is he that engaged in all this? I mean, he's taking their money. It's a ton of it. He still plays well, but I don't know if that Messi mania to the American soccer fan and the casual soccer fan has really paid off. And here's the other thing that is the biggest one of all. If you take someone that is recognized as a soccer fan, I'm not talking hardcore soccer. I'm talking about soccer fan or casual fan, or someone says, you know what, I'll root for America because it's the World Cup and it's a world competition. They don't know anybody who plays for this team. No one. The only player that might get is Christian Pulisic. And he hasn't been great. He hasn't been very good. Now, that may change when the team begins playing, and that may change if they are to have success, which is not guaranteed with the USA national team. It has been choppy at best on their journey to get to where they are. A manager that I wish was coaching, again, my team in the Premier League, that has a style of play that may not fit for what this group of players are about, and they're not very good. The Americans will go into the World Cup with very little experience because they didn't have to qualify. The friendlies that they played, it's a mix of good competition versus teams that are fielding their second or third squads, and there's a lack of buzz. There's a lack of buzz. The thing about the Olympics, if you don't see the Olympics, it's just different because there's enough sports that you may end up knowing something about. You can't compare to basketball because we know everybody on the basketball team. Heck, if we get the baseball thing figured out, you'll know everybody in the baseball team. There's such a lack of momentum. And then the business side of this that I began talking about. Forbes did the piece where ticket sales, and we've done a few stories on this, it's a disaster. FIFA priced these tickets way, way, way high and said, well, that's the American market. The secondary market will figure it out. You've got the Americans' opening match isn't sold out. It's sold over 40,000. It's not sold out. We have matches that are going to take place in this country with teams that are not in the top 10 or 20 that right now, they don't have the stadium half full. And FIFA said, oh, you're going to get about 100 Super Bowls. Every match, it's going to be sold out, and all these host cities will get millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then you have the hotel industry going, I don't know what you're talking about. Kansas City might be one of our best U.S. soccer markets. They spoke to hoteliers there who said, I don't see any uptick of what normal is. And that's around a number of other World Cup cities. Ticket sales struggling, hotel people telling you, I don't see much of an impact. And I'm not saying that the U.S. was sold a bill of goods. I mean, they knew the numbers. You could project numbers yourself. Is it solely ticket prices? It's a part of it. Is it the current political and world climate? That's a part of it. The image of our country? I would think that's a part of it. And in this country, the lack of buzz is a major part of it. Look, Brazilian fans will travel. Argentine fans will travel. Your powers will still bring fans here. Maybe not as many, but they'll still bring fans here. But here we are, just over a month away of the biggest sporting event in the world, and there's almost like, yeah, I guess it's kind of a cool thing that's coming. Maybe as we get closer and we're a couple of weeks out, it'll have a different vibe, but it's a problem when the casual fan has no idea who plays for the U.S. team. And yeah, you'll see commercials and you can put out fancy promos and videos, but the biggest sporting event in the world coming here right now, I wouldn't say it's a dud, but right now just has a lack of that type of buzz that you're looking for. If the Americans are to turn it into something where, and they better advance, because if they don't, it is going to be a massive impact. And by the way, and this is not a lengthy speech on American soccer here, we could not enter the World Cup in worse shape. Just a disaster. The director for U.S. Soccer left for a different job. You got a head coach that my guess is as soon as the World Cup ends, he will take a job back in Europe. This will not be a long-term job for him. And if we bow out, even if we advance at a group stage, and the way it's structured, I mean, they better advance. I don't know how far this team goes, and I don't know how much longer Messi plays. That big wave of soccer, which I root for. I mean, soccer will never overtake football in this country, but I just feel like we've lost that buzz that we had going back 4 or 5 years ago with this sport that just doesn't feel like it's reached what people had envisioned. And the vision was build that momentum. Messi's going to come here. More kids will want to play soccer. The only thing that really happened is Messi came here. He made a lot of money. The average cost for a youth to play soccer has more than doubled in the last decade. More than doubled. Okay, the promise of more fields and more access to it's more than doubled. So what's happened is rich kids play soccer now. That happened. But the rest of the buzz leading up to the growth of MLS, more exposure, the rise of U.S. soccer, they're going to come here in 26. The U.S. is going to have a real chance to compete, to go deep into the tournament. And wouldn't that be something upon their home soil? And here it is 5 weeks out, and you're like, I guess, kind of neat. And I don't care what anybody tells you on the soccer side. Some of the great talking heads in soccer, they all have them, and certainly USA Soccer. They had a different view of what the final 5-6 weeks were going to be like. And it doesn't mean it can't build momentum. And I've said this for years. Soccer on that level is the last thing as a underdog that can rally our country. The men's Olympic basketball team is supposed to win gold and dominate. Everything else that we participate in, we're supposed to win and dominate. Soccer, though, is the last one that if this team ever got on a run and made the quarterfinals and semifinals and finals, the country, within reason, would unify because that's what sports can do. Maybe that happens. I hope it happens. But, man, this just has the vibe of it's going to come, it's going to go. And I think soccer is going to look back and go, man, we missed it. Because this isn't coming back for another 30 years. It's not. And believe me, there's a lot of dirty things about FIFA. There's no more corrupt organization in the world than FIFA. And they sold a bill of goods, and a lot of people bought it, and they may end up paying the price for it. But let's hope that as we get closer, but that there is a lack of buzz. There's a massive lack of buzz, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just kind of wonder about a come and go event that others will celebrate, and we'll be like, oh, that was it after all that. Come back, put a wrap on the Monday show, and the Beat of Sports continues next.
Time for the latest news, gossip, trends, and off-the-wall stories. Trends.
That's the craziest thing I ever heard.
I mentioned before about the World Cup and tickets, and maybe somebody has seen this online for the World Cup final, which you can laugh at. You can go online right now and go take a look. There are, I think at last check, there are like 8 or 9 offerings for a ticket more than $1 million. What person? First off, if you can buy a ticket for $1 million, you're buying the suite. You're not sitting in a section in potentially 95 degrees. In the middle of a stadium. I mean, if you're going to pay $1 million for a seat, you get a suite for crying out loud. That'll do it for the program today. If you missed any of this, go where you get your favorite podcast. Type in the Beta Sports On Demand to get access to the show. Subscribe, download, listen when it's convenient for you. And you can always catch the video stream on days that I'm on the video stream. Go to our YouTube page, click on go to 96 The Game Orlando, click on the logo and the live button to watch the video stream of the show. I will be back in studio tomorrow for a Tuesday edition of the program, and it'll be good to get back, even though it's for a few days. But we'll get back in the studio for the Tuesday show tomorrow. A little on the mark, off the mark, and a whole bunch more coming up on the program. That's it for the Monday show. Chris Vasquez produced. I'm Marc Daniels. We'll see you tomorrow for the Beat of Sports.